Although it might be a ways off yet, are there any hints towards the next Animal Crossing game? Well, as it turns out, there very well could be. Past Animal Crossing games have hinted at their future in their own ways, even New Horizons hinted towards its larger future updates at the very start of the game. The progression of the series has become more and more clear with each new entry, so what lies in store for the next one? We might have a pretty good idea of how the next Animal Crossing game could go down. Leading up to the launch of Animal Crossing New Horizons, we had no idea that so much of what the game would include in terms of major new features was already known to us, as it had actually been featured in previous Animal Crossing games in very subtle ways. Really, it all started back with Happy Home Designer, a spin-off game for Animal Crossing New Leaf, which basically introduced a ton of new quality of life updates and features which we would later see implemented in Animal Crossing New Horizons. This included stuff like ceiling furniture, which was only recently added to the game, and even furniture outdoors as well, which became a huge new feature in Animal Crossing New Horizons. However, the template for Animal Crossing New Horizons became much clearer in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. This was the first Animal Crossing game really to introduce crafting and had its own expansive crafting menu with a bunch of different materials that you could collect, something that we all know from Animal Crossing New Horizons. Furniture outdoors became an even bigger part of this game as well, and decorating your campsite was really the main goal of the game. Pocket Camp even hinted towards a new progression system for getting villagers onto your island, which we would see early on in New Horizons, where you'd have to fulfill certain item requests in order to get the free villagers that you'd collected to move in. So with that in mind, what hints do we have towards the next main Animal Crossing game? Well, after the huge 2.0 update and Happy Home Paradise released, it does give us a pretty good idea of some of the major changes that we could see in the next entry. One of the main ones that comes to mind to me immediately is the fact that you can completely change around the terrain with the homes that you create in Happy Home Paradise. There are a whole bunch of new terrains that we've never really seen before in an Animal Crossing game. For example, you have the desert biome, which can be a potential house for a villager, and this one is incredibly cool, and it's so different than the usual look of the foresty green sort of town that we all know from the regular Animal Crossing games. You also have the new sort of mystical ruin kind of biome, which we actually do see used in Cap'n Island tours as well, so this is something that they heavily showed off during the 2.0 update. Another new terrain which is completely different from regular Animal Crossing that we know and love is the icicle terrain. This one is so different than what we used to, but I really love it. I think it's super cool. With New Horizons having such a focus on designing your island your own way and coming up with all your own customizations, I really could see them allowing us to have our own custom terrains in the next main Animal Crossing game, and I think that Happy Home Paradise would be a kind of test to that to see how people use them. Not to mention the fact that cores have become such a huge and popular part of the Animal Crossing community, and there's no way that Nintendo hasn't noticed that. Look at stuff like cottagecore builds and desert builds. Well, imagine if you could do those completely with the special terrains that you could choose at the start of the next game. This is definitely something that I could see Nintendo implementing, and I think it would work really well. It allows people to create islands and towns that feel really different from each other. And of course, for those who don't want to lose that small town cozy feel, they would still have the regular option to choose from as well. And I definitely feel like that's not the only hint towards a new major feature in the next Animal Crossing game as well. Before we continue, I just want to say that this video is sponsored by Disney Emoji Blitz. You can download the game by using my link in the description. To enter into my giveaway for a chance to win a 25 Nintendo Switch eShop card, all you have to do is download using my link in the description, get to level 20, screenshot that and send it to me on Instagram at Crossing Channel. The giveaway will end on the 5th of June, so make sure you enter before that date. As I was saying, I really feel like the 2.0 update gave us some hints towards the future of Animal Crossing, and one of those is the new camera mode which we can actually activate. For the first time ever, we have more freedom over the camera in the game than we've ever had outside of our home. It allows us to move the camera diagonally, and now for the first time, you can use the camera in first person mode. I really don't feel like this is something that Nintendo would add just for one Animal Crossing game, and I think this is something that they're actually going to expand upon a lot in the next entry. It would make a lot of sense as so many people like to make videos and take photos of their Animal Crossing islands and characters and such, so I could see them expanding upon this a lot and maybe even giving us the option to play fully in first person mode. It could work a little bit differently and it could be completely optional as well, so no one would be forced to play that if maybe they don't like first person as much or they just feel like that isn't the Animal Crossing way. But with all the new camera options that they've introduced, I can't imagine them being a one-off. I definitely think that is something they will return and expand upon a lot in the next entry. I know a lot of people feel like we could actually see a VR Animal Crossing game now after this update, and you know what, I'm kind of with you there. I don't think that would be part of a main Animal Crossing game, but they're definitely going to do more spin-offs, that's for sure, as Animal Crossing New Horizons was way too much of a success for them not to do other spin-offs in the series. After all, they released 3 spin-offs after Animal Crossing New Leaf, so I'm confident that we're going to see more for New Horizons. I also feel like the fact that we didn't get bulk crafting for this game is a hint that we probably will get a much better and expanded crafting feature in the next game. I can't imagine them leaving crafting out of the next entry, although it is definitely a possibility if they decide to go down a different route, but now that crafting has become such a big part of the game, and the fact that it's in so many other hugely popular games as well, tells me that this is something that Nintendo might want to stick around for Animal Crossing. After all, it gives the player a much better sense of progression when collecting all those different items. Maybe in the next Animal Crossing entry, it really could be finally time for them to give us a bulk crafting option. I really can't imagine why they didn't do this with the 2.0 update, as the potential was definitely there and I think a lot of people expected that, so maybe we'll see that next time around. I also feel like the 2.0 update was a hint towards the fact that we will probably see all of the old Animal Crossing characters return in the next entry. I feel like originally they weren't going to add back the old characters, but when they saw how much backlash they got from longtime fans of the series, they rectified this with the 2.0 update. Of course, a lot of characters didn't return to the roles that we know and love them in, but you can still invite them to the game with their amiibo. Of course, looking at Harvey's Island, it is a treasure trove of returning characters that people love, and you've got Brewster and Cap'n back as well, so I'm fairly confident that in the next entry they won't make this mistake again. At least I certainly hope they won't. And hopefully next time more characters will get unique roles, as I feel like with the 2.0 update, they really learned that they could give characters new roles to enjoy, and it would still work well with the game. Something from Happy Home Paradise that we also saw in Happy Home Designer was the inclusion of these special buildings where your villagers could actually work and do their own activities, and now that they've done this twice, I really could see them doing this again in a future Animal Crossing game. Maybe rather than having your villagers work there in the main roles, they'd have the NPCs run it and then your villagers could be added on there as special jobs. Either way, I definitely feel like these special customizable buildings will make their comeback in a more significant way in the next Animal Crossing entry. I think one of the things people actually wanted the most with Happy Home Paradise is to have these buildings on their own island, as it would have made it feel much more lively and vibrant. So hopefully Nintendo will take that feedback into mind and they'll actually allow us to have some of these customizable, cool buildings on our own island or town in the next entry. But let me know in the comments section down below, what hints do you think there are towards the next Animal Crossing game? Are there any features from New Horizons or past games that you think are a must for the next entry? I'd definitely love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like to support the content. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on channel notifications for more. And don't forget to comment Bob's Gang down below if you made it to the end. I want to say thank you to the channel members you see on screen for supporting me and the content that I make here. Your support makes it possible for me to keep making content. If you want to join and get access to our members only Discord, Bob emojis, a badge by your name and so much more, then click the join button down below the video or the link in the description to learn more.